Welcome back to New American Youth Ballet Presents. I'm your host, Elizabeth Flores. I am so privileged to have back Miko Fogarty for her part two interview. I don't know, it was a number of years ago that we last spoke, and I've just always enjoyed hearing from you and learning from you of your incredible career in professional ballet and a successful master teacher now, and your new career that you're going to be an ankle and foot surgeon that I know you're going to be swamped with more business than you can know what to do. So if you can, it was probably about 5 years ago that we last spoke. Can you
Yeah.
tell me kind of what is a typical day like for you now?
Yeah,
And yeah.
thank you. Well, first of all, I want to say thank you again for inviting me. I am always honored to speak with you, and it's so great to see you again. But right now, my typical day, I'm a fourth year podiatry medical student. So these days, we're not doing as many classes, but instead, we're in the hospital and doing surgery. So, like a typical Monday, for example, is where I wake up around, let's say, like 6. Or sometimes even earlier, like 5:30, so that we start rounding on patients in the hospital, kind of checking up on patients in the hospital around 6:30 a.m. Surgeries usually start around 7 or 7:30 in the morning. And depending on the day, we can have from 1 to 5 to 7 to 10 surgeries, depending on how busy it is that day. And yeah, every day is a little bit different in the clinic and in the hospital, depending on what comes through in the emergency room or what comes in the clinic. But that's kind of what my weekdays look like, at least, is I'm mostly in the clinic and in the hospitals and scrubbing into surgeries, which is a lot of fun. And then on the weekends, I try to continue to teach ballet whenever I have the chance.
So you're always slacking off, huh?
Yeah, yeah, and resting here and there sometimes.
You graduated with honors and also did research on brain cancer therapies. What
Mhm.
is your best advice to students to stay focused on their goals in a world full of distractions?
Oh, that is such a great question. I mean, I think in life you prioritize different aspects of your life, whether that's school, whether that's family, whether that's your job, whether that's your relationship, and it differs throughout your life. For me, for example, when I was growing up, my big priority was ballet, dancing, and school. And then it became more dancing as went into my teens. But it can be hard with the distractions in life, including social media, um,
Yes.
and other distractions in life, maybe a boyfriend or girlfriend that's distracting, even family matters. So I think it's good to take it day by day and remind yourself what your main priority is in that moment. And yeah, doing your best every day to go towards your goals. And of course, once in a while, everyone needs a day off or a rest day to recharge and do the things you like to do. But yeah, not spending too much hours on social media, I think, can be helpful. Actually, it's not just the young generation. I think a lot of times it is placed on the young generation that there's a lot of social media, but I think it's all generations these days that are on social media and spend more time on screens. So I think yeah, it's just good to make sure that you're going towards your goals, your passions, and um, spending the time and the work that you need to be able to be successful in those. And sometime in your life, you have to prioritize your family or spend time with them too. So yeah, just making sure that you take it day by day and make sure you prioritize your day.
Well, I'm grateful for social media that I met
Yeah,
you. I felt
absolutely. Yeah.
connected on Instagram. So there's some, and your social media presence is so inspiring and positive.
Thank
And that's something that I think is just really, it's just like a breath of fresh air at a time where things can be so insanely competitive and the pressure. And I don't know, sometimes you look at, and they're just 12 years old and it's like you have your whole life ahead of you. It's not, you
Yeah.
know, okay. But
Oh
it's
no, I totally agree. Like I see all types of people on social media, and I do spend a lot of time on social media, and that's not necessarily a bad thing, but um it can be very positive in the way you can connect with people from all over
Yeah.
the world, different organizations, different connections are great. But also just taking everything you see with a grain of salt because it's not real life. And of course,
Yes.
most people post, the very best of their lives, making it more about connecting and supporting each other from across the globe.
The other thing I struggle with, and I'm still learning how to manage, is to being a perfectionist. And
Uh,
how do you balance that? Are you a perfectionist by
um,
nature?
I feel like people think of me as a perfectionist, but I personally don't think I'm a perfectionist, which actually has helped me a lot throughout life because, it's easier for someone like me to move on from and continue striving even if I did get a bad test score, or even if I did have a bad performance. It was overall pretty easy for me to move on because I like when I see some friends or people that I know that are perfectionists, it can be actually much harder for them, like when they do come into a barrier or did not perform well in something, it can cause them a lot more stress and cause it to take a lot more time and effort to move on from that. So yeah, perfectionism has its pros and its cons, I'm sure, as you know. But I wouldn't consider myself a perfectionist, I would say.
And I think it's good to learn from that point of view because
Yeah.
sometimes it makes, like you said, it makes me scared to try things that
Hmm.
are out of my comfort zone that
Yeah,
maybe I would find very refreshing and
right.
relaxing and good for me. But I feel like no, it has to be like this first. And
Yeah,
I think that's the ballet. I don't know that they can work on you, right? From the ballet
absolutely.
training.
Absolutely. I mean, in ballet, we're taught to continue to strive for perfection and strive for being better every day in the studio, which is good. Like it causes great discipline and it's good to continue to improve oneself throughout life and grow. But yeah, it's
Doesn't have to stop there.
yeah. I mean, it's hard to be perfect and no one's perfect. And as being humans, I think that's one of the beauties of being a human being is that we're not perfect. And
Yes.
I sometimes the imperfections are some things I love about people. So yeah, kind of giving yourself grace with those things is important for sure.
You look so happy. You look so happy and give off such a positive energy. And I'm sure you have inspired, your story has inspired um, people who want to make a career transition or make the jump, but feel, like locked into this box that
Yeah,
you have to do.
yeah,
Um, you must have had some conversations, or do you sometimes counsel dancers about career
yeah.
transitions?
Yeah, I definitely did go through that transition myself, which is the hardest thing I've had to go through in my life, I would say. So I do have dancers reach out to me all the time when they're thinking about transitioning to a different career or have transitioned to a different career, and going through that. And I'm also part of like a mentorship program called Second Act. It's based in New York City, but they connect dancers who have gone on to different careers, and they connect those with current dancers or newly, I guess, transition dancers who have just transitioned to a new career. So I've loved mentoring. I think mentorship is something I'll continue to do throughout the years ahead, and it's something that I find a lot of fulfillment in, and being able to even just help one person through that is just brings me a lot of joy because I wish I had like more people I could have reached out to during that time. I felt the most lonely during that year that I was going from a professional ballet career to college, and I felt like I had no one to talk to about that. So I just hope to be someone that like people feel comfortable reaching out to and explaining their situation and how to go through this journey of life.
And I think it was when you read the book The Healthy Dancer that got you thinking about, going into the medical profession. And
Yeah.
was that kind of, did that plant a seed in your mind when you read that book and you sort of
Mhm.
opened up to that? where you felt like that was somewhere eventually you would head to?
Yes, absolutely. So I read that it's actually like an ABT book, The Healthy Dancer, that came out years ago. And I think I got it when I went to the ABT summer intensive when I was 12. Reading it, I was like, whoa, this is actually really cool. I love learning about how our bodies function and the different muscles around our body that help us dance and help us move. So that was there, that interest. I would say what planted the seed more was actually when I personally got injured and I broke my second metatarsal, and I had to take time off of ballet, and I really had a hard time during that because mentally I hadn't taken any break off of dance until then. During that time, I went to a few different doctors. Because the first doctor like right away said we have to do surgery, we need to open up your foot. It was like just one line of a fracture. It wasn't displaced or anything, but initially they right away said, well, we're doing surgery, and we were like, we just want to get a second opinion just in case that's
Yes.
not necessary. And we did, who with a person that was more experienced with dancers and had worked with dancers from San Francisco Ballet, who was a podiatrist as well, and she recommended that we don't get surgery because the bone is aligned. As long as I stay off of it, it's going to heal perfectly aligned. So at the end of the day, I'm really glad I didn't do surgery. So yeah, it's just finding different opinions, and in the medical field, there are a lot of opinions about what different doctors think is the right choice. And of course, as a dancer, you want to make sure you make the right decisions for yourself too.
Yes.
So that was not an easy time for sure. But yeah, I remember the biggest thing during that point to keep strong was to do a lot of Pilates and stay strong physically, which helped me stay mentally positive too. But yeah, I guess that was also the time that planted the seed of like, if I'm not dancing, like what is something I'm interested in? And definitely, the process of recovering from injury was something I was interested in, and helping other, hopefully dancers get back onto the stage in their careers as well. So initially, I didn't stop dancing at that point. I continued, but it definitely planted the seed at that point for sure.
Yeah. And in
Yeah.
medical school, do they discuss like in the manner of how you talk to the patients? Because it's a very delicate thing when you're dealing with elite athletes or any athletes, but when your whole career is like in a conversation, it can really change your life one way or another.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. I 100% agree, and I think they don't teach that enough. They do, say here and there, like how your bedside manner is really important, make sure you're respecting your patients, all of that, but not really into the psychology. We don't really have any psychology courses or anything like that to help us discuss those important topics with athletes. So maybe at certain conferences you may come upon these lectures, but in terms of in our podiatry school, we haven't really been talked about with that too much. So yeah, I don't think it's discussed enough. I think we can always, as healthcare professionals, learn more and empathize more with patients. And I definitely hope to be a very like empathetic doctor that, takes time to understand and listen to my patient's needs, and really let the patient lead their care in a way as well, for depending on their goals. So yeah, but yeah, definitely not enough.
a memorable interview I had was with Osio Gano, who I think now is in Germany. And
Yeah,
I saw him, on Instagram doing
yeah.
Diane Axion, and there was just
Oh
this
my
one
God.
creation that's, oh my gosh, yeah, right? I'd watch and like, let me watch it again. And I interviewed him and we were talking, and then it came to reason that that was after he broke his leg.
Wow.
And he was very depressed and very, alone with feeling this
Sure.
injury. And then he was connected with the right doctor, with the right conversation. And it changed, because I think it's mental also. When you have
Absolutely.
these these moments in everybody's
Yeah,
career, it defines what the next step is. And you want
sure.
somebody on your side who's working with you, not,
Yeah,
down.
absolutely. I 100% agree for sure.
I'm going to move on to that. I've seen your Esmeralda tutu out there. That I've seen your Esmeralda tutu out there with
Yeah,
Crystal Bong,
yeah.
and she speaks so highly of your kindness and generosity for allowing her to wear it. Can you tell me about this tutu and its journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So just for those that may be listening, this is like a green tutu.
I'll show a clip of it for sure.
Yeah, like that's like an ombre tutu color with long sleeves. And it's a custom tutu that was custom made in Japan, in Osaka, Japan, which is where my mom's from. I think I had it fitted for me when I was like 14 or 15 years old. And we kind of helped the costume maker design the designs on the tutu, and he custom made it for me, which is just so special. And so I started wearing that tutu around when I was 15 for my Esmeralda solo. And one of the reasons why that solo is like one of my favorites is because of that stunning tutu I got to wear, as well as I just really like the dynamics of that solo. But yeah, I've traveled to Peru, Russia, Japan, Taiwan, Indonesia, um, all over the world with that tutu. And it was actually the costume I wore in my very last performance. So that's really special to me
Oh,
as well. But yeah, I think it was about a year or two ago that I just had it in storage. I never wanted to get rid of it, of course,
yeah, for sure.
because it's one of my favorites. But a couple
It's
of years
everyone's.
ago, Crystal reached out to me, and I don't think we'd ever talked before then. But of course, we knew of each other because the dance world is very small, and she is amazing. So of course, I knew who she was. She reached out. She's like, I need a tutu last minute for this competition that's coming up. Do you have like an Esmeralda tutu I could borrow? And I was like, yeah, of course. Like you you can borrow it anytime.
Uh,
Um, so she picked it up from the place that I store it, and thankfully, I think it was like a little bit big for her at the time, but her mom helped her kind of fit it to her body. And yeah, she used it for her Esmeralda solos at I think YGP finals. And
yeah.
now she's traveling the world with it. I think she was in like Italy and South Africa and all these amazing places with that tutu. And I'm just really grateful that that tutu gets to live on. And it just makes me so happy to see her wearing it. And, if I ever see her performing or videos or photos, I'm just so happy to see that tutu. And I'm just so grateful that someone that amazing as a dancer is wearing my tutu. It's definitely an honor for me as well. So
That's just amazing that like without hesitation, you
yeah,
let that tutu, because that's like in your toolbox of
yeah,
very special, treasures of yours.
absolutely. Yeah, that's very true. I don't give my tutus to a lot of people in general
Yeah,
because I have
especially
lent,
that one.
yeah,
Wow.
especially that one. Like I've lent costumes in the past to different people, and they've come back ripped, they've come back,
Yes.
destroyed a little bit. So with that particular tutu, I'm very protective, and other special tutus, I'm protective.
That tutu have a name?
Oh no, no, it doesn't. I didn't name
I
my
see a
tutu.
book, what's that? When I was a little kid, my tutu goes everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
like,
No, that's a great idea. I could name
you
my
know,
tutu something, but
that's
no, I
great.
haven't named it. But of course, for someone just so talented like Crystal, it's almost an honor for me to have her wear my tutu. And it comes with like this headpiece as well that I wore that's also really
Yeah.
special. And so I'm just really happy to see her wearing it for sure.
And that's a beautiful gesture. In a world where things are very competitive and sometimes the ballet world can be a very ungenerous and territorial place where, it's my student, my things. So
Mm.
for her to call you in a pinch and you come through like that, that's just a really beautiful story. And the success that's gone on with it,
Yeah.
you continue, it's a part of it. So
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I hope to see that. I mean, these tutus are so expensive and so special, and of
yes,
course, we love to keep them for ourselves, but I think it's good to sometimes let, other dancers also experience that tutu and continue to let it live its own life as well.
it would be cool to have a joint interview with,
Yeah.
with Crystal and with you and that tutu. That would be really cool. It's just
Yeah.
a very nice story. I love it.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
with all you have and continue to accomplish, it's unusual to see someone pass such an important and valuable piece of their success, like a tutu you wore, onto another dancer.
Yeah.
And why are you so kind and nice to talk to?
Oh, oh
I
my
asked you that
gosh.
the last interview.
Oh, well, you too. I mean, it's hard for me to answer that, but I mean, I hope that at the end of the day, like if anyone remembers me for anything, I just hope that they remember me as a good person. I don't want to be remembered as a good dancer. I don't even want to be remembered as a good doctor. At the end of the day, I just want people to remember me as like a good person and someone that they liked to talk to, and someone that was hopefully kind and respectful. So that's really like my biggest priority is with people, making sure that I'm personable and I leave a good mark out there. But also I love talking to people. I love talking to you. You're so easy to
Oh,
talk
thank
with,
you.
and you also leave such like a positive mark in this world, and I really appreciate that as well, doing these interviews and your social media as well. I always look up to that. So, being inspired by people like you that are out there as well. I'm constantly inspired by people around me. So yeah, that's all I can say. I just hope that, I that people feel good around me, and I try my best to, be kind and respectful to everyone around me.
Well, I'm so grateful to talk to you. I'm going to pass you to Camila for a little bit.
Yeah.
If you were going to throw a dinner party, what would be on the menu?
Oh, that's actually a great question. You have the best questions. Um, well, actually, literally right before this interview, I made a tiramisu, so that's probably gonna be there for dessert. So I would say I would make tiramisu for dessert. For like an appetizer, maybe like a caprese salad, like with just very simply like mozzarella, tomato, basil,
Yeah.
balsamic. Olive oil. I love that kind of salad. For the main dish, maybe like a Japanese curry or something.
Okay.
I kind of like making that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I would say that
Let us
appetite.
know when you throw it. We really want to come over.
Oh, okay, yeah, you're all invited.
What is something that dancers should never do in a class or in an audition?
Well, you definitely should try not to be late. That I think first impressions are the utmost important. One thing I would say that maybe not everyone would make sure that they're not doing is you don't want to be bad mouthing other people because in the ballet world, word spreads around so quickly. And when you're saying bad things about someone else, honestly, it shows you as a person more than that other person who can't defend themselves in that moment. So I would say try your best to know that everybody knows everybody and to try to stay either neutral or positive if you're speaking about anyone else. If you're forced to speak about anyone else, again, word gets back to that person if you say anything bad. So I guess something, all the things that most dancers know about etiquette in class, do those. Um, but I think something socially to avoid is trying to badmouth other dancers or other people in general. And of course, like about other studios and stuff like that, just be very careful with what you say and try again to stay neutral or positive in general.
Well, I can't thank you enough in your busy
Uh,
days to take the time to talk to us. And I
well,
know I better let you go. You have a 5 a.m. tomorrow.
oh, no, thank you so much for having me. It's always such a pleasure to talk with you both.